What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So before I go forward, I want to give a shout out to Aaron for his contribution, showing love to the channel. Much respect. I saw your message, and I know you like the old school basketball content. So I hope you like the video that I just uploaded about Kareem, the case for GOAT for Kareem. So I think this might be a little new thing I'm gonna do for certain players. I'm gonna try to present a case why I think they could be in the argument for GOAT. Next video, I think I might do a Keem Olajuwon. Okay, so you know, there's that. I'm not gonna do every player, but just certain players. You can present a case. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Ticket TV because he broke this news. He's the first one I saw talk about this. And if you're not subscribed to Ticket TV, please subscribe to Ticket TV. Right, the best basketball content on YouTube, in my opinion. I haven't been on his panel in a while, and I should. The thing about it is I like to listen to his show. You know what I'm saying? You know, I've gotten to a mode recently where I like to listen to people and try to gain knowledge from people who know what they're talking about. I'm just one of those persons. I'm more naturally a listener, even though I do videos. I like to listen to people. So shout out to Ticket, and he put this news out that it's heavily rumored that Andre Drummond will probably sign with the Brooklyn Nets. I do remember him saying that with the Brooklyn Nets, he can make up to 5 times more money than he would signing with the Lakers. Now, with this situation, I'm not gonna lie, I have a lot of mixed emotions. Um, Look, I don't like in any situation, any scenario where one team is stacking the deck with a lot of players. Now, look, don't get me wrong. The Clippers stacked the deck last year, but you could make the argument that a lot of the players that they were stacking were really good role players, solid players. Um, Brooklyn is stacking the deck arguably with Hall of Fame caliber players or players that could have been Hall of Fame caliber. You know, Kevin Durant, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Kyrie Irving, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. James Harden, no doubt he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Um, DeAndre Jordan, most likely not. Um, Although he is the all-time leader in field goal percentage in NBA history, he's a decent player. He's a good player historically, but his resume falls short of Hall of Fame unless something dramatic happens toward the end of his career. He wins a lot of championships, has a lot of big moments in the playoffs. Then you can kind of think, well, maybe we could scoot him in, like not first year, but whatever. Blake Griffin, he had that potential. Unfortunately, injuries have robbed him of what he once was. I don't see him as a Hall of Famer. Andre Drummond could be. He could be. Um, he's not right now in my eyes, but he could be. If he leads the NBA in rebounding a couple more times, he'll be a rarefied air. All right, he'd be up there with Wilt Chamberlain and Dennis Rodman for most years leading the league in rebounding. He's already a better scorer than Dennis Rodman. By today's standards, he's a basic low post center. But if he's able to win a couple of championships, okay, that would help aid in his case as well as having some signature moments, especially in the playoffs. Okay, signature moments. Man, remember that game when Andre Drummond had 25 rebounds, man, and he just completely outmuscled the front line of XYZ team and da 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 da, and that led to them, going to the finals. Or he had this 14 point, 15 rebound game in the finals. Those types of things help your case. All right, so there's that with the Brooklyn Nets. Okay, right now, if they are able to sign Drummond, I mean, barring injury, it would make them the favorite. Okay. It looks like the Lakers might have botched signing DeMarcus Cousins. Look, you don't want to say anything is certain, but it'll be really difficult for LeBron and Lakers to beat this team. If they were to beat this team in a series, I would equate that as even more impressive than when the Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Golden State Warriors. Just because of what this potential team would bring. You have the three best, probably right now, on ball guys as far as scoring the basketball. You got a guy who is right now leading the NBA in assists, who's also a tremendous scorer. Kyrie Irving, probably the best ball handler we've ever seen, period. Kevin Durant may be the most versatile offensive weapon we've seen in NBA history. Then if you add to that Blake Griffin, a guy who can give opposing defenses a different viewpoint as far as a big man, a guy that can make shots and shoot from outside. Then you have DeAndre Jordan, who right now is their key traditional big man. But if you add Drummond, Drummond can be the starter, and then you have I mean, Lord have mercy. And that kind of shows up their weaknesses, which is rebounding and defense. Lord. But as great as it sounds, this isn't NBA 2K, man. This is the NBA. The NBA has always flourished more on at least the assumption, the appearance of competition. Look, you can say the Bulls were favored in a lot of their finals, okay, or most of their finals, although they weren't favored in '98. Utah was favored in '98 because they had home court advantage. And I believe Phoenix was favored in '93. But I mean, even when the Bulls were favored, right, or even when Kobe and Shaq were favored, there were at least certain teams that it gave you the at least the illusion that they could dethrone them. Whether it was the Kings or whether it was the Spurs, who did do it a couple of years. At least they were teams that were capable of beating. Nobody wants to watch an NBA where one team is just dominating the league and it's really legitimately two teams who win the title and everybody else, all 20 something other teams, they don't have a shot. Who wants to watch that? That was the problem a couple years ago I was had with Golden State and Cleveland. Why play all these games when there's only going to be two teams that's going to go to the finals every year? And the NBA had did a better job of at least, you know, making it appear to be more parity. But it's going right back to that same bullshit. And this is what makes people disinterested in watching the NBA. And part of it is the fucking media. The media always wants these goddamn super teams to follow. Think about it. Think about it. Whether it's they think that adds to ratings, but the difference is in the past, all of these super teams had a nemesis. Whether it was the Showtime Lakers that had the Boston Celtics, whether it was even when the media wasn't as big a factor, Bill Russell's Celtics still had to go up against the behemoth, the legend that was Will Chamberlain, or even those Laker teams. They made it interesting. You know what I'm saying? Even if Bill Russell and other guys came through in the end, at least those series were competitive because of the greatness of West and Baylor and Chamberlain. The '70s, you had so much parity, that wasn't even a problem. The '80s, yes, the Showtime Lakers dominated, but they didn't win a title every goddamn year. And they were beaten by the Sixers. They were swept one year. They were beaten by Bird's Celtics one year in '84. They were beaten later on by the Detroit Pistons. Even the Bulls, and even with that period of time, the reason why ratings were so high in the '90s, even though you can argue that it wasn't the most competitive per se, but you never got the feeling that the Bulls were stacking the deck. You know what I'm saying? You never got the feeling that the Bulls were stacking the deck to the point where it was just grossly unfair. And you know, you kind of got to blame, to a certain extent, even though it's not the same thing. It kind of started with the Big Three in Boston. Okay, even though that wasn't preordained, they didn't plan to join up. It happened. Okay, it just happened, and it's really the only master stroke of Danny Ainge's career. It happened. They won a title. They should have won more, but they won one title, and they dominated the Eastern Conference for a little bit. And they were in LeBron's way, similarly to how the Pistons were in Jordan's way for a good bit. And the pressure to win a championship for LeBron James grew so great that he quit on his city, among other things that were motivating factors. And then he did conspire with Wade and maybe initially Carmelo Anthony. Anthony chose the money, but then, Chris Bosh. And they formed a super team. People don't want to acknowledge it, but it was a super team, okay? And they went to the finals for 4 straight years. And then the culture changed. At one point in time, the culture was you got to win. If you're a superstar, you stay in your own city and you build a team around you. Nowadays, it's guys kind of joining up. Okay, um, I don't like it. I don't. I don't. I really don't like what's going on in Boston. Excuse me, with Brooklyn. I think it's bad ultimately for basketball. You know what I'm saying? It's great for Brooklyn fans. It's great for that market, but ultimately, I think it sucks. Okay, and I want to say this to Laker fans that are crying about this team. Number one, you have some fucking nerve. Number two, weren't you guys just jockeying? Aren't you guys just waiting and with bated breath for Giannis to jump ship and go to LA? Matter of fact, that was the main reason why Anthony Davis was holding off on signing a multi-year deal, just in case Giannis signed up because he would have signed for 1 year. So don't give me this bullshit about, oh man, it's fucked up what they're doing and because you guys were going to stack the deck too. Matter of fact, you guys are going to stack the deck multiple times. One of the reasons why so many of these analysts hate on Kawhi Leonard because he didn't do what people thought he was going to do and sign with the Lakers. You see what I'm saying? That would have been truly stacking the deck with LeBron, Kawhi, and Anthony Davis. So get out my face with that bullshit, okay? And technically, you guys had 3 Hall of Famers last year with Davis, LeBron, and Rajon Rondo. So this thing, it's a problem. Now with Kevin Durant, you know, he doesn't get the criticism that he probably should because look, let's be honest. There's a lot of people. LeBron James is a very polarizing figure. Kevin Durant, even though he has his detractors, he's not as polarizing. When you're as polarizing as LeBron James is, you're going to have a lot of people who don't like you or they don't root for you. So because they don't root for you, they're going to root for whatever team that that's best suited to defeat you, right? To dethrone you, and that's the Brooklyn Nets. So a lot of people who don't like LeBron James, always, they rooting for Brooklyn. I mean, it's cool, I guess. But what Kevin Durant's doing is not cool. You know what I'm saying? It's I'm not saying that he's totally behind the scenes being a general manager, but the main reason why a lot of people in the media were pressuring him to leave Golden State was to prove that he could be a all-time great and lead his team to a championship by himself, which is bullshit anyway, right? So he went to Brooklyn, fucking over Knicks fans. But look what's happened since then. I mean, not only was he with Kyrie Irving, but they acquired James Harden And now, then Blake Griffin, even though he's a reduced player, and now they're on the verge of getting Andre Drummond. This would be phenomenal. Um, having, but this is one thing though. When you have a power team like that, when you have a team that is that great, or at least perceived to be that great on paper, expectations are very high. And nothing less than a championship will suffice. I remember when the Bulls won 72 games, I remember Ron Harper said, it don't mean a thing unless you win a ring. It don't mean a thing without that ring. And that's why nobody really talks about the Warriors, that 73 win team, as being the greatest because they didn't ultimately win a championship. Nobody talks about the 1973 Celtics, who won 68 games. Why? Because they didn't even make it to the finals. They got knocked out by the 60-win New York Knicks, I think, in 6 games. You know what I'm saying? Nobody talks about the 67-win 2007 Mavericks. By the way, the fact that that team won 67 games says a lot about Dirk Nowitzki as a player. Look at that roster in 2007. Right now, as I'm speaking at this video, look at that roster from that 2017 and tell me how in the fuck they won 67 games. But anyway, nobody talks about that 67 win team. Why? Because they got knocked out in the first round. MVP, Dirk Nowitzki. Nobody talks about the 63 win Seattle Supersonics. Why? Because they got knocked out in the first round by the Nuggets in '94. So that's my thing. Brooklyn has to win the title. If they don't, they deserve all of the criticism. Because I'm going to tell you something. I don't give a fuck if it's Kevin Durant, Michael Jordan, Kobe, whoever the fuck. If you have a team with that assorted amount of talent and you don't seal the deal, you deserve hellfire from the media. Okay? That's all I got to say. Tell me what you guys think.